Hello, and welcome to Let's Talk Climate, a webcast series from ecoAmerica. My name's Brett Matulis, director of the PathtoPositive program, and today we're going to be talking with the king of composting, Marvin Hayes from Baltimore, Maryland. Marvin, welcome to the show.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Once again, my name is Marvin Hayes, and I'm the program manager for the Baltimore Compost Collective. And before I get started, just want to make a disclaimer that I am contagious. I am a long-haul carrier of compost fever, and it is my deliberate intention to spread compost fever to you today through the variant of education. Thank you so much for this opportunity, Brett.
Excellent. Thank you, Marvin. So I've asked Marvin here today to share the really incredible work that he's doing for sustainability, for climate change, and for community in his hometown and beyond. So Marvin, before we get to the composting, could you tell us a little bit about Baltimore and especially about waste management in Baltimore?
Okay, currently here in Baltimore, which I love to call Recycle More, because that's my mission to get people to recycle more. We have an incinerator. We have two incinerators here in Baltimore, one that burns municipal waste and one that burns medical waste. And they are all located in the community that I serve, along with a coal plant, kerosene company, gas company, explosions, fires, etc. A coal plant that sits across the street from a recreation center, Amazon fulfillment center, and they tell us that the highest emissions is caused from the 895 expressway. So why not put an Amazon fulfillment center and bring a fleet load of trucks into our community as well? Right now, 85% of Baltimore City municipal trash can be composted, recycled, or reused. Currently, we are burning our municipal waste here in Baltimore, not separating our organic material. Our organic materials are food scraps, vegetable scraps, coffee grinds, filters, your tea bags with no staples, and your garden trimmings. Currently, all of those materials that aren't being composted are going down to the incinerator and causing Baltimore City, because the wind doesn't segregate or discriminate, $55 million in health damages. Baltimore City has one of the highest asthma and cancer rates in the country. And if we only would divert our material from going into the landfills and incinerators when you bury your trash, and we're the only city in the country that has a landfill and incinerator. When you bury your trash, it creates a chemical called methane gas. When you burn it, it creates carbon dioxide, which once again is causing $55 million in health damages for the residents of Baltimore City. So we're trying to promote to starve the incinerator and divert that material from being burnt or buried and create a composting infrastructure throughout Baltimore City where we can divert those organic materials from being burnt or buried.
Okay, so you've got this incinerator in your backyard. It's causing harm to the community. It's causing harm to the climate through emissions from that. It's a source of environmental injustice. And so you start this composting program. Tell us about that. What was your kind of realization? When did you say, composting could be the solution here?
Okay, well, I caught compost fever about 9 years ago. I met a young lady by the name of Destiny Walford and a young man named Charles who told me about the incinerator and that they were trying to shut down Baltimore from building another incinerator in Curtis Bay. And they told me the alternative. So I asked them, of course, what would be the alternative? What would we do with our waste? And because of 85% of it and 25% is composted, those material could be composted. They don't have to be burnt or buried and affect our community. I go into schools and I ask two questions when I'm doing composting workshops, because once again, I tell you, I try to spread compost fever through the variant of education, because I feel like when people know better, they do better. 9 years ago, would I tell you that now I have red wiggler worms downstairs in my house that I feed my food scraps to. That now I'm a master composter and I have the gift of composting so I can spread that and educate people. And I asked two questions to the youth. One, what's your favorite fruit or vegetable? Because they can be composted. And two, are any of your family affected by asthma or cancer? Immediately, the children raised their hands, and 95% of those students have asthma or cancer, and 85% of their parents or grandparents have been affected by cancer. Composting is the alternative to trash incineration or burying our organic materials. So we must go to the best practices if we want to see a bigger, better Baltimore and want clean air for the residents of Baltimore City.
Yeah. So this is, composting ties together so many things. There's pollution reduction through diversion from the incinerators, the diversion from landfills. There's climate mitigation. There's food security because the product from composting can be used in urban gardens to help people have greater supply of healthy foods. There's community development. Your compost collective in Baltimore also serves as a kind of youth empowerment program. What's the role of young people in the collective? What do they contribute, and what are some of the skills that they gain by being involved in it?
Yeah, so Brett, when you let me ask you a question. You told me that you do home composting. When you open up your container that you keep your composting in, what's the first thing that hits you?
Uh, not much. What do you mean?
Might be that organic, funky smell that comes
a
from your
little bit.
compost
A
when you
little bit.
open
It's
it
not
up.
too
But
bad though.
yeah, but once you put it through a process, it winds up smelling like beautiful earth, beautiful black gold. So the same way, sometime our youth come to us and they don't know how to do a cover letter or a resume. They don't have public speaking skills. They don't know how to do an elevator pitch. So we work with our youth and we put our youth through a process the same way we put the organic material through the composting process. We put our youth through a process where we do goal settings. We work with them we use the carrot of composting as entrepreneurial training. So the youth are able to use the skills that they learn by operating a food scrap collection service and then be able to apply that to their own personal business. Right now, I have a youth composter. Big shout out to Mr. Kenneth Mars, who's been with me since he was 15 years old. He grew his first tomato at Filbert Street Garden. He comes from our local high school, Ben Franklin. All 8 of my youth composters have come from Ben Franklin High School through the Baltimore Compost Collective, and the support and goal setting that we do with our young people and providing them with life skills and character ed and development. All of my youth have graduated from Ben Franklin High School. All of them are currently working to have started their own business. My youth composter, Mr. Kenneth Moss, has started his own business called Kenneth Captures, just a young man with a camera, where he's taken the skills that he's learned from the Baltimore Compost Collective, entrepreneurial skills, and applied them to start his own photography business, where at the age of 16, Kenneth had his EIN number and his LLC. So we are supporting local youth to be, my goal is to inspire the next environmental justice leaders for Baltimore City to continue this compost work and take it to the next level. I may not see the stop of incineration in my time here on this planet, but I know that I have had an opportunity to spark and inspire the next group of youth environmental justice leaders. So that's the goal, for them to give back to their community, to be able to teach their peers small scale composting. As we talked about earlier, Kenneth Moss has been able to go to Detroit and teach 60 youth from Detroit on small scale composting and do a composting workshop, being my co-facilitator. So this is the gift that keeps on giving. It is our job. I do not want to be a leader that has founder syndrome and not give the opportunities to the youth to grow, to be the indomitable youth of Baltimore City and take this work to the next level with their imagination and innovation. We got young people that can touch a button and get access to billions and billions of people. So how do we incorporate that into this environmental justice work and make them youth leaders. And I'm so blessed to have Mr. Kenneth Moss as my youth lead composter for the Baltimore Compost Collective, who lives in the community and serves the Filbert Street Garden, the Wakanda of South Baltimore, where we make bridges and not barriers.
Absolutely. I love the way that you've used composting to connect all these issues together. You know, it's environmental, but it's also social. It's also about health. It's also about the community. What you're doing there is just fantastic. So I want to ask a
Thank you.
question as well that, you know, put into context just the significance in terms of climate change for composting. So, you know, food waste in the United States emits carbon pollution equivalent to 42 coal-fired power plants, according to the EPA. Globally, it accounts for 3 times the emissions of air travel. This is a really serious problem that not many people are talking about or even really that aware of. Can you explain how composting solves this problem?
Yes, when you add compost to the ground, it sequesters carbon and so great for the environment. And it also helps reduce harmful greenhouse gases that create climate change. So it is our due diligence to compost to be able to feed the soil that feeds us. And when, like I say, when you put that compost into the soil, it sequesters carbon. And with healthy soil, you have healthy vegetables. At the Wakanda of South Baltimore at Filbert Street Garden, when we first started there, we had a lot of lead and metal into our soil. But when we were able to remediate that with compost, it has brought it to fertilizer level. If you could just see the amazing pawpaw trees that are growing at Filbert Street Garden, and all these residents that are in a food insecure, food apartheid neighborhood that now are able to grow okra, kale, carrots, peppers, tomatoes of all different varieties, indigo, to be able to dye our wool from our Shetland sheep that we have at the Filbert Street Garden. So climate change is happening fast, guys. We must take this opportunity to do the alternative to burning our organic material and burning our organic material by composting and putting that, putting that. It helps with storm runoff, stormwater runoff. Definitely helps with the harmful greenhouse gases. So it's all our responsibility to make the to be able to make the decision to start composting, to be able to do our part to help with climate justice and stop climate justice, guys. Yellowstone Park is underneath water. We're having fires, we're having flooding, and if we can just do one thing to help with climate change, that would be to compost.
Absolutely. So, Marvin, just now you referred to the Filbert Street Garden, where the collective is located, as the Wakanda of South Baltimore. I think that is a really fantastic way of describing what you've got going on there. You know, as our listeners will be aware, in the story, Wakanda is this place of advanced technological innovation that's really unknown to the outside world. It's initially it's hidden in order to protect it from, outside forces that wish it harm. Eventually, though, it opens up to share its riches with the world. And, just like Wakanda, South Baltimore, I think, has so much to share with the world. So with that context, what advice would you give to other communities that would like to replicate what you've done there?
Just we are truly a community run and operated garden. I live in the Penn North area, and a lot of people have came into the area and want to be the stakeholders for the community. And I believe that you cannot do community development without organizing and involving the community. At Filbert Street Garden, I believe we've done a great job with galvanizing the community there. Now we have animal caretakers who are animal nannies that come in and volunteer and take care of our 11 miniature Nigerian dwarf goats. They take care of our 30 varieties of waterfowl, chickens, ducks, and turkeys. They help put them in. They take care of our 47 raised beds where we're able to grow food for the residents. Along with being in a food insecure, food apartheid neighborhood, and being one of the most environmentally unjustice neighborhoods in the city, We are also in an internet insecure neighborhood. So we provided filbert.net, where residents in a mile radius can have access to the internet, because we know that's just like having electricity. If you don't have internet, you're not able to apply for a job, you're not able to do your homework. So we have tables in front of Filbert Street Garden where youth and residents can do their homework, apply for jobs. I would say any advice I would have is just definitely to involve the community, have dream sessions with the community so they can dream about what they want the place to look like, and take the expertise from the people that you brought there to create this amazing oasis that food can be grown for residents that don't have access. Their market, they have to travel about an hour and have to go to Glen Burnie to get to a market that's not filled with processed foods and GMOs and all those things. So, really work with the community, and then the community will take ownership of that place. And as you work with land trusts in your neighborhood, we're hoping that we're going to make sure that the Filbert Street Garden remains a place that the community can grow their food, can compost, and will be a home for rescue animals and for people that deal with trauma. So they'll have this beautiful oasis, and most importantly, our 47 hives of bees that we need our bees. Without bees, we won't have food, and they're the hardest working people at Filbert Street Garden. We're able to be sustainable because we sell all our products from our bees to be able to support the garden through the Farm Alliance and through our partners, and have a collective. I cannot do this by myself. I will not be able to shut down the incinerator by myself, but I have a group of amazing people who support me in this collective to make this successful. So number one, have dream visioning for the community, and involve them and get them opportunities to be leaders in that space, and you'll watch your green space just flourish.
Absolutely. I think if every city in the country had a Marvin Hayes, we'd have it would be a different world. It'd be fantastic. So
Thank you.
finally, Marvin, I know you write poetry and do a little bit of spoken word performance. Is there one that you'd be willing to share with us here?
Sure. Thank you, Brett. This particular one is just talking about it's an environmental injustice when it happens to just us. Pardon me, I was choking on the coal dust. Right where our children attempt to play, the time for change is a must. Marvin, what's the big deal for? What's the fuss? You son of a gun, you almost made me cuss. You'll let our babies die to fatten your pockets until you bust? You'll kill us all for the money that you lust. We don't have to burn or bury our organic material. It's time to compost and adjust. I will not stop until I see the incinerator raised and crumbled in the dust. So let's take a stand for composting to make this world a better place for all of us. Thank you so much, Brett. Wakanda forever.
I love it, Martin. I got goosebumps over that. It's amazing, powerful words. Thank you so much for taking the time with us today. Thank you for sharing what you're doing. And most of all, thank you for your dedication to making the world a better place. To our viewers, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry, Brett. Just before we check off, just want to make composting. My goal is to build an inclusive table for composting for Baltimore City. So if you cannot sign up for the Baltimore Compost Collective, we have drop-off sites at both of the farmers markets, Waverly and Jones Falls Expressway. I operate a compost drop-off program at Govins Community Market. You can also attend home composting workshops for my home composting advocates out there through the Department of Public Works with the Growth Center, where I'll be hosting a home composting workshop in October. So just wanted to make those announcements so everybody, the goal is that we're not waiting for them to build us a table. We're going to build an inclusive table for Baltimore City where everybody can participate, and it's not based on financial situation, but we want to make it accessible for everybody.
100%. And I'd say for all of our viewers that are outside of Baltimore, look for something happening in your local community like this, support it. If you don't find one locally, get involved and start one. So to our viewers, thanks for tuning in. Engage with us using hashtag Let's Talk Climate. Be sure to subscribe and follow for all the latest news and updates. And from all of us at ecoAmerica and Path to Positive, thank you. Bye for now, and see you soon for another episode of Let's Talk Climate.